All right, today I wanted to review this 1992 apocalyptical men's adventure western sci-fi crossover, The Last Rangers, by Jake Davis. High-tech lawmen in the Texas of 2035 AD. So, it takes place way in the future. And there's a war apocalypse, and Texas, being the awesome place that it is like its own power, its own nation, I guess. It doesn't really talk about what else is going on in the rest of the country, but this is like Texas is just kind of its own thing. So it starts in this like kind of small town, and there's these two hick sheriffs down in this underground bunker. First off, there's so much sci-fi like made up shit in this that it's like overwhelming. It makes my head hurt. So there's like all this artificial technology that this dude has made up, that Jake Davis has made up. Or maybe it's real, I don't know. And I just don't know that kind of stuff, but it sucked. So they're down in this underground bunker, and all of a sudden like a floating barge comes in, and it's a cage, and it has all these the baddest dudes in Texas, the baddest criminals. And these two guys are like, oh man, what is this about? Like, I'm not going out there, that's scary. So they send the little guy out, and he's walking towards it, and the sheriff, I don't know, no spoilers, but the whole beginning of this book is just a big, like, muddled mess. So it starts after, like, the initial, like, shootout. When the shit hits the fan with these bad guys and the cops and crooked cops and whatever. After this initial shootout, then it starts going into the guys, the criminals in the cage, and, like, how they got captured. And there's like 20-some dudes at this cage. And I'm like on the fourth guy, and I'm like, please tell me this is not all this book is. Because that would just be so fucking boring. So it's all these kind of like Mad Max scenarios, but it's like Western. But it's not Western. There's nothing really Western about this. It's very like just an apocalypse type thing. There's it's really heavy on global warming, which I thought was funny because this is very obviously like the right. This is targeted towards fans of the right. And it just really shows you that it was just such a different time when everything wasn't so politicized. And that when, science was like, hey, there's global warming, that everyone was just like, okay. Global warming, the world's hot. Bad guys, the backstories, cops. There's like a main bad cop that's super bad. It's ultra violent, ultra gory. There's like torture and all kinds of crazy shit, just the craziest shit you could think. And when I was reading this, I was like, what this reminds me of is Mutants Amok. If you've ever read Mutants Amok, that series, where it's just kind of like this kind of post-apocalypse, and it's just crazy. It's like the plotting is like an 8-year-old gets behind behind the wheel of like some old hot rod and just drives all over the yard and the roads and into buildings, 90 miles an hour. It's just all over the place. So around the middle part of this book, and so nothing is just kind of happening. I'm just like, this sucks. I should just quit. The middle part starts, and it's this hooker taking this John out into the middle of nowhere, and they get attacked by this gang of like juvenile delinquent gang that's all hopped up on this like crazy drug that makes them like kill each other, and it's just very psychotic, like over the top violence. And there is there's like this like automated tank kind of that is outdated and they don't use anymore, and it's just kind of rolling around. They're not even supposed to exist anymore. and it stumbles upon them, and it's like this big shootout. And there's like this mystery Batman type character, vigilante, who is coming in, and he was the one who captured the bad guys at the beginning. Just kind of all comes out, but in a really confusing way. Anyway, so this middle part of the story with this girl, this woman, prostitute lady, versus this juvenile delinquent gang and this tank, it kind of got good there, like in the middle. And I was like, man, if this was just like a short story, if this was just a story that was in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, I would have loved this. If it was just this middle part, it was good. It made sense. It had like a beginning. Everything was in order. For that part, yes. And then it gets off into craziness, and this book is just, everything about it is over the top. The gore is over the top. The sci-fi made-up stuff, the technology, the bad guys, the good guys, it's all just ridiculous. There is, like, shit like, here, let me see. So they're in, like, this part of the city where there is casinos, bars, drug dens, brothels, black medicine clinics, laser print tattoo parlors, sex arenas, bootleg software vendors, pornatoriums, pawn shops, torture palaces, pedo parks, illegal arms dealers, stolen goods bazaars, flop houses, hot sheet hotels, and other less mainstream attractions. So imagine that just in every aspect. And that's what this book is. And I mean, if you like the mutants amok and just total chaos, and it just doesn't, like, the plot doesn't matter, and you just want violence and insanity and debauchery, what's a good word for, like, just lacking any morals whatsoever, then it would be a good read for you. And I thought for sure that it was the same guy who wrote Mutants Amok. That's how much it reminded me of it. But it was a different guy. Jake Davis. I think there's only 2 of these. I think it was going to be a series, and they only did 2. Not a Western. Definitely post-apocalyptical men's adventure. Yeah. Last Rangers.